भगवते वासुदेवाय नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। अष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तम श्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्ठिकी. So continuing with the discussion on Srimad Bhagavatam, second canto, first chapter, the first step in God realization, text number 12 onwards. So Shukdev Goswami is further speaking. Kim pramatasya bahuvi parokshar nariha varam muhuratam viditam ghatte shreyase yataha. What's the value of a prolonged life which is wasted, inexperienced by years in this world? Better a moment of full consciousness, because that gives one a start in searching after his supreme interest. So it's basically, I think, when Shukdev Goswami was glorifying bhakti and chanting and what's the purpose of life and end of life, one should ante narayana smritihi. When he was explaining everything, so it looks like Maharaj Parikshit was feeling bad that he never heard of all this and now he has only 7 days left. When is he going to do all this? Of course, that's his humility. But this is, Acharyas have explained, this is what he was thinking. That's why Shukdev Goswami said, what's the value of a prolonged life which is wasted, inexperienced by years in this world? Moment of full consciousness, because that gives one searching after his supreme interest. So basically, Parikshit Maharaj is going to spend full 7 days, 24/7, that what we say, 24/7 in hearing, in relishing the nectar. So according to what is the value of, what's the use of a prolonged life if it is not used in the service of Krishna, if it is not used in remembering, chanting of Krishna's name, hearing about him, remembering and serving. Srila Shukdev Goswami instructed Maharaj Parikshit about the importance of the chanting of the holy name of the Lord by every progressive gentleman, in order to encourage the king who had only 7 remaining days of life. Srila Shukdev Goswami asserted that there is no use in living hundreds of years without any knowledge of the problems of life. Better to live for a moment with full consciousness of the supreme interest to be fulfilled. The supreme interest of life is eternal, with full knowledge and bliss. Those who are bewildered by the external features of the material world and are engaged in the animal propensities of the eat, drink, and be merry type of life are simply wasting their lives by the unseen passing away of valuable years. We should know in perfect consciousness that human life is bestowed upon the conditioned soul to achieve spiritual success, and the easiest possible procedure to attain this end is to chant the holy name of the Lord. In the previous verse, we have discussed this point to a certain extent, and we may further be enlightened on the different types of offenses committed unto the feet of the holy name. Srila Jiva Goswami Prabhu has quoted many passages from authentic scriptures and has ably supported the statements in the matter of offenses at the feet of the holy name. From Vishnu Yamalatantra, the chanting of the holy name is so powerful, so beneficial, so simple, yet so sublime method. But because we commit offenses at the feet of the holy name, we commit offenses while chanting, before chanting, after chanting. That's why we don't get the desired result that we are supposed to get. That's why in the previous purport, Prabhupada explained the 10 offenses to certain detail. And now he's He's going over some more offenses that we commit. And that's why we don't get the desired result of Krishna Prem by chanting of the holy names. Quoting from the Markandeya Purana, from Vishnu Yamla Tantra, Srila Jiva Goswami has proven that one can be liberated from the effects of all sins simply by chanting the holy name of the Lord. All sins can be removed, the effects of all sins. Quoting from the Markandeya Purana, Shri Goswami ji says that one should neither blaspheme the devotee of the Lord nor indulge in hearing others who are engaged in belittling a devotee of the Lord. A devotee should try to restrict the vilifier by cutting out his tongue, and being unable to do so, one should commit suicide rather than hear the blaspheming of the devotee of the Lord. The conclusion is that one should commit suicide rather than hear the blaspheming of the devotee of the Lord. The conclusion is that one should neither hear nor allow vilification of a devotee of the Lord. As far as distinguishing the Lord's holy name from the names of demigods, the revealed scriptures disclose that all extraordinary powerful beings are but parts and parcels of the Supreme Energetic Lord Krishna. Except for the Lord himself, everyone is subordinate. No one is independent of the Lord. Since no one is more powerful than or equal to the energy of the Lord, no one's name can be as powerful as the source. Therefore, one should not equalize the supreme holy name of the Lord with any other name. Brahma, Shiva, or any other powerful god can never be equal to the supreme Lord Vishnu. So most of the people, especially Hindus, when you ask them who's supreme, they always talk about Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh. They always say, oh, Trinity. And Hinduism is what polytheism. Polytheism is, there are many gods. There are not many gods. There are many demigods, yes, but there's only one Supreme Lord. And here Prabhupada is writing, Brahma or Shiva or any other powerful god can never be equal to the Supreme Lord Vishnu. So ultimately it's Vishnu or Krishna, whose expansion is Vishnu. The powerful holy name of the Lord can certainly deliver one from sinful effects. But one who desires to utilize this transcendental potency of the holy name of the Lord in one's sinister activities is the most degraded person in the world. Such persons are never excused by the Lord or by any agent of the Lord. One should therefore utilize one's life in glorifying the Lord by all means without any offense. Such activity of life, even for a moment, is never to be compared to a prolonged life of ignorance, like the lives of the tree and other living entities who may live for thousands of years without prosecuting spiritual advancement. So here Prabhupada thinks such activity means glorifying the Lord. Glorification of the Lord, chanting of the Lord is as good as glorification. That is kirtan. Even for a moment, if we have done that, it's better than prolonged life of ignorance. What's the use of living for hundreds and thousands of years? In fact, there are some trees here in California. There are some trees like 5,000 years old. Trees are there. So we can just imagine what they have witnessed, what have they seen so far. But what's the use of living such a huge life as a tree? Or even as any human being also, if you don't get to do devotion service. Text 13. Khatvango nam rajarshir gyatpeyattam iha yusha muhurtat sarvam utsrijya gatvan abhayam harim. So now Shukdev Goswami is saying, just in one shloka he talks about his Maharaj Khatwang. The saintly king Khatwang, after being informed that the duration of his life would be only a moment more at once freed himself from all material activities and took shelter of the supreme safety, the personality of God. A fully responsible man should always be conscious of the prime duty of the present human form of life. The activities to meet the immediate necessities of material life are not everything. One should always be alert in his duty for attainment of the best situation in the next life. Human life is meant for preparing ourselves for that prime duty. So this is Shukdev Goswami is responding to Maharaj Parikshit's second question: what should a person do who's about to die? So Maharaj Khatwang is mentioned herein as a saintly king because even within the responsibility of the state management, he was not at all forgetful of the prime duty of life. Such was the case with other Rajarishis, saintly kings like Maharaj Yudhishthira and Maharaj Parikshit. They were all exemplary personalities on account of their being alert in discharging their prime duty. So we cannot be as busy as Maharaj Yudhishthir or Maharaj Parikshit or Maharaj Khatwang. We'll read about Maharaj Khatwang here. So even while doing their stately duties, they were still doing the prime duty of remembering the Supreme Lord, chanting His name, hearing about Him. So we really have no excuse. Maharaj Khatwang was invited by the demigods in the higher planets to fight demons, and as a king he fought the battles to the full satisfaction of the demigods. So Maharaj Khatwang, he's a predecessor of Lord Ram. He was from Ayodhya, and he was so powerful, such a big Kshatriya. The demigods invited him to the higher planets to fight against the demons. And he went there. And what happened afterwards? The demigods, being fully satisfied with him, wanted to give him some benediction for material enjoyment. But Maharaj Khatwang, being very much alert to his prime duty, inquired from the demigods about his remaining duration of life. So after the war was over and they won the war, and Maharaj Khatwang really fought bravely against the demons, the demigods were very happy with him. They asked him, take some benediction for material enjoyment. So he could have stayed in the heavenly planets, and demigods could have increased his life duration also. But what he did was he asked them, how much life I have left? This means that he was not as anxious to accumulate some material benedictions from the demigods as he was to prepare himself for the next life. He was informed by the demigods, however, that his life would last only a moment longer. Of course, here Prabhupada wrote only a moment longer, but in the words it says Muhurat, one Muhurat. So one Muhurat is actually 48 minutes. So he had 48 minutes left in his life. The king at once, so he asked the demigods, okay, you give me the fastest plane you have, and I want to go back to Ayodhya. I want to use this time in remembering Krishna or remembering Ram. The king at once left the heavenly kingdom, which is always full of material enjoyment of the highest standard, and coming down to this earth took ultimate shelter of the all-safe personality of Godhead. He was successful in his great attempt and achieved liberation. So that's what it is stressed upon, that even for a moment, if somebody can remember Krishna wholeheartedly, obviously, then that's it. This is the success of life. This attempt, even for a moment, by the saintly king was successful because he was always alert to his prime duty. Maharaj Parikshit was thus encouraged by the great Sukdev Goswami, even though he had only 7 days left in his life to execute the prime duty of hearing the glories of the Lord in the form of Srimad Bhagavatam. So this is Maharaj Parikshit is getting encouraged by Sukdev Goswami. He was saying, "Oh, you have only 7 days left." Maharaj Khatwang had only one muhurat left in his life, and he fully absorbed in remembering the holy name of the Lord, remembering the pastimes of the Lord. By the will of the Lord, Maharaj Parikshit instantly met the great Shukdev Goswami, and thus the great treasure of spiritual success left by him is nicely mentioned in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Text 14. तव तवाप्येतर्हि कौरव्य सप्ताहं जीवितावधि उपकल्प्य तत्सर्वं तावद् यत्साम्परायिकम्. Maharaj Parikshit, now your duration of life is limited to 7 more days. So during this time, you can perform all those rituals which are needed for the best purpose of your next life. Shukdev Goswami, after citing the example of Maharaj Khatwang, who prepared himself for the next life within a very short time, encouraged Maharaj Parikshit by saying that since he still had 7 days at his disposal, he could easily take advantage of the time to prepare himself for the next life. Just digressing a little from here, many times, because every time when a baby is born, so we go to the Panditji and somehow we try to calculate what should be the first letter of his name. And suppose some baby's name is supposed to start from letter K. How many people you think will name their kid as Khatwang? With letter K, people will go for, if it is a girl, Sakhushi and Khayati and whatever. And I don't know, for a boy, whatever would the name. How many people would name their boy as Khatwang? It's not something very hip name, right? But there is a devotee in Ludhiana, and his grandson, he was born, and there's a name of Kha, and they named him Khatwang. It's amazing because I've never heard anybody naming Khatwang. Even devotees, when they get initiated, and so far I haven't heard anybody getting this name Khatwang Maharaj. Although he is so glorious, he is glorified in Srimad Bhagavatam. But hardly anybody names their kids as Khatwang. But there's one devotee in Ludhiana, and they did name their grandson as Khatwang. Because they were so, of course, the letter was Kha, and they liked this story of Khatwang Maharaj so much. Okay. Since he had 7 days at his disposal, he could easily take advantage of the time to prepare himself for the next life. Indirectly, the Goswami told Maharaj Parikshit that he should take shelter of the sound representation of the Lord for the 7 days still remaining in the duration of his life, and thus get himself liberated. In other words, everyone can best prepare himself for the next life simply by hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, as it was recited by Shukdev Goswami to Maharaj Parikshit. The rituals are not formal, but there are also some favorable conditions which are required to be carried out, as instructed hereafter. Antakale tu purusha agate gat sadhasaha chindyat sanga shastrena spriham dehe anuyachitam. At the last stage of one's life, one should be bold enough not to be afraid of death. But one must cut off all attachment to the material body and everything pertaining to it and all desires thereof. So this is how one should prepare for death. The foolishness of gross materialism is that people think of making a permanent settlement in this world, although it is a settled fact that one has to give up everything here that has been created by valuable human energy. Great statesmen, scientists, philosophers, etc., who are foolish without any information of the spirit soul, think that this life of a few years only is all in all, and that there is nothing more after death. This poor fund of knowledge, even in the so called learned circles in the world, is killing the vitality of human energy, and the awful result is being keenly felt. And yet, the foolish, materialistic men do not care about what's going to happen in the next life. The preliminary instruction in the Bhagavad Gita is that one should know that the identity of the individual living entity is not lost even after the end of this present body, which is nothing but an outward dress only. As one changes an old garment, so the individual living being also changes his body, and this changes of body is called death. Death is therefore a process of changing the body at the end of the duration of the present life. An intelligent person must be prepared for this and must try to have the best type of body in the next life. The best type of body is a spiritual body, which is obtained by those who go back to the kingdom of God or enter the realm of Brahman. In the second chapter of this canto, this matter will be broadly discussed. But as far as the change of body is concerned, one must prepare now for the next life. As far as change of the body is concerned, one must prepare now for the next life. In fact, our next body is prepared in this body when we are in this body only. Why? Next body is decided by the consciousness at the time of death. And the consciousness at the time of death is determined by the consciousness, our consciousness that we have developed in this lifetime. So next body is getting prepared while we are still in this body. So we have to really get ready, really get prepared for that. Foolish people attach more importance to the present temporary life. Thus, the foolish leaders make appeals to the body and the bodily relations. The bodily relations extend not only to this body, but also to the family members, wife, children, society, country, and so many other things, which end at the end of life. After death, one forgets about everything about the present bodily relations. We have little experience of this at night when we go to sleep. While sleeping, we forget everything about this body and bodily relations, although this forgetfulness is a temporary situation only for a few hours. Death is nothing but sleeping for a few months in order to develop another term of bodily engagement, which we are rewarded by the law of nature according to our aspiration. Therefore, one has to only change the aspiration during the course of this present body. And for this, there is need of training in the current duration of human life. So one has to change the aspiration, means the desires. And desires can be changed once we change the consciousness. During the course of this present body, when we have this, especially when we have this human form, we can change it. Of course, it's a long purport the Prabhupada written. In the end, Prabhupada writing, one cannot therefore stop desiring. So desire is a concomitant factor of the living entity. Living entity is eternal, and therefore his desires, which are natural for a living being, are also eternal. One cannot therefore stop desiring, but the subject matter for desires can be changed. So one must develop the desires for returning back home, back to Godhead. And automatically, the desires for material gain, material honor, and material popularity will diminish in proportion to the development of devotion service. So means more one makes progress in bhakti, in spiritual life, more this material gain, material honor, material popularity, the desire, it will diminish. Not just those desires, but also the four activities that are pertaining to the material body: eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. All those four activities also go down when one is making progress, sufficient progress in spiritual life. Beginning from the top executive head of the state down to the insignificant pauper in the street, all are rendering some sort of service to others. The perfection of such a service attitude is only attained simply by transferring the desire of service from matter to spirit or from Satan to God. So that's all we have to do. Change our desire, change the course of our desires, quality of our desires, and consciousness while living in this material body, and then we can prepare our next body. So I'll stop here. See anybody has any questions or comments?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
I don't have any question, but it's just a comment. While you were reading, I was just realizing that it's so inconceivable. I mean, that, that this body is now getting prepared. So things like this are so inconceivable. You cannot even imagine, I mean, what is happening at you at the next moment. So how we should take this process very seriously.
Yeah, because
And thank you for...
Parikshit Maharaj had 7 days guaranteed. We don't even have 7 minutes guaranteed.
Yeah, yes, Prabhuji, I was just coming to that fact. We even don't know what is going to happen next.
Yeah. So we have to prepare.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Mata. Hare Krishna. So we shall stop here. Jai Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna,
Hare
Prabhuji.
Krishna.